Does every encounter have a spiritual purpose? Have you ever stopped to think that even the most casual interactions might contain divine messages? In our spiritual journey, it's easy to imagine that the moments of greatest connection with God happen during intense prayer or major revelations. But what about when God manifests in more subtle ways, in small daily interactions, in unexpected encounters? Every conversation, every exchanged glance can be an opportunity for spiritual awakening, a chance to see divine presence manifesting in what appears to be merely a coincidence. This is a deep and challenging theme. How can we recognize that each encounter has a spiritual purpose? Are we really attentive to the ways in which God communicates with us? For many, this might sound like an abstract idea, something distant, but the truth is that spirituality is everywhere, and the awakening of consciousness often occurs in the simplest and most unexpected moments. This video will explore how our everyday connections can be full of deep meanings, loaded with spiritual wisdom, and even energetic healing. Throughout this video, you will be guided through a unique spiritual journey that aims not only to bring new perspectives about daily encounters, but also help you discover how divine guidance is present in these moments. Through stories and reflections, we will better understand how seemingly casual encounters can transform into moments of great spiritual transformation. The key is to be more conscious and present, more open to what each interaction can teach us. We promise that, by the end of this journey, you will be more aware of the divine messages that surround you, more attentive to the signs, and more connected to your own spiritual wisdom. Spiritual empathy and spiritual connection can manifest in much simpler ways than we imagine. And who knows, maybe that casual encounter with someone you meet along your life's path is exactly what you needed to find direction in your own journey. I invite you to follow me on this journey of discovery. Let's explore together the spiritual purpose behind daily encounters, a theme that, although simple, has the power to transform the way we see life and the people around us. If you're ready to see beyond the surface, to perceive the signs that God places in your path, then this is a journey for you. In this video, we will organize our reflection into three main parts. First, we'll talk about how we can recognize divine signs in everyday interactions. Then we'll explore the impact of spiritual empathy in these encounters. And finally, we'll discuss how we can cultivate a sharper spiritual awareness to identify these moments of divine connection. Throughout this journey, the purpose will be clear: to help you realize that each encounter does indeed have a spiritual purpose. Now, I invite you to move forward with this reflection, to let yourself be touched by the idea that the answers we seek, the guidance we search for so much, might be closer than we imagine, disguised in simple encounters and exchanged glances. Ready to discover what these moments have to teach you? Recognizing divine signs in daily interactions. Now that we've begun exploring the idea that each encounter has a spiritual purpose, let's dive deeper into how we can recognize these divine signs in daily interactions. For many, daily interactions might seem simple or even uninteresting. However, it's possible that God is manifesting in unexpected ways, bringing spiritual lessons and messages to our life through the people we cross paths with. Think for a moment, how many times have you had an apparently casual encounter that made all the difference in your life? Perhaps a stranger's smile that made you feel more hopeful, or a brief conversation that brought clarity to a personal dilemma. These moments might actually be a manifestation of divine guidance, like small reminders that we're not alone in our spiritual journey. Spiritual connection can arise even in the most ordinary situations if we're willing to see beyond the surface. To recognize these signs, we need to cultivate greater spiritual awareness. Spiritual awareness is the ability to perceive and understand the energies and messages that surround us in a way that transforms our worldview. When we're in tune with this energy, we can see human interactions in a new light. The simple fact of someone offering you a kind word or a caring gesture might be a manifestation of spiritual wisdom at work in your life, often without the other person being fully aware of it. If you're wondering how to cultivate this spiritual awareness, the answer lies in the daily practice of presence. Being present in each moment, in each encounter, is the first step to recognizing divine messages. When we're completely present, we can notice signs and symbols that would otherwise go unnoticed. This includes the ability to perceive how each person we meet might be teaching us something important, whether through their words, actions, or even simply by being in our life at that specific moment. Now, I invite you to reflect on an important aspect of this spiritual journey. Are you attentive to the encounters that happen in your life? Are you open to recognizing that perhaps a simple interaction might have a deeper purpose? How many moments have gone unnoticed, and how many of them could have been a divine opportunity for growth and spiritual transformation? It's natural that, in our busy lives, we often aren't fully attentive to small signs, but it's exactly this lack of attention that prevents us from living a more connected and fulfilling life. As we develop the ability to see God's hand in each encounter, we begin to understand that spirituality isn't something distant or inaccessible, but something that's part of our daily reality, something we can touch and experience at every moment. I invite you to reflect. How would your life be if you started seeing each encounter as a divine opportunity? How could this transform the way you interact with others? And, more importantly, how you connect with your own spirituality? Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had an encounter that somehow seemed to have a greater spiritual purpose? What signs did you notice in that moment? Share your experience in the comments, and let's reflect together on how daily encounters can be more than simple coincidences. The impact of spiritual empathy in daily encounters as we continue our journey of discovering the spiritual purpose in everyday encounters. We need to pay special attention to a fundamental aspect that can transform these interactions: spiritual empathy. When we manage to practice spiritual empathy, our connection with others becomes deeper and more meaningful, and we can more clearly perceive the divine impact these exchanges have in our life and in others' lives. Spiritual empathy goes beyond simple sympathy or understanding. It's about feeling, at a deeper level, what the other person is going through, connecting with another person's soul, and, through this connection, recognizing God's presence in the relationship. This isn't something we can force, but something that happens when we open ourselves to the spiritual energies that are present in all moments of our life. When we practice spiritual empathy, we're able to see and feel the other person in a way that goes beyond superficial words and gestures. It's as if we're touching the other person's soul, recognizing that we're all on a shared spiritual journey. But how does spiritual empathy affect daily encounters? First, it helps us see beyond appearances and perceive the deeper needs of the people we meet. A simple encounter with a stranger on the street can, through spiritual empathy, become a moment of healing, an opportunity for the other person to feel divine love and care through us. Spiritual empathy also allows us to receive this energy from others, especially when someone shares a word of comfort or offers unexpected help. It's important to realize that spiritual empathy isn't just about helping others, but also about opening ourselves to receive. Often, casual encounters become opportunities for us to grow spiritually ourselves. A simple act of kindness from a stranger might be the answer to an unspoken prayer, a sign that God is taking care of us, even in the most unexpected moments. This exchange of energy, often silent, is one of the most powerful forms of divine presence manifesting in our life. I would like to invite you to reflect. Have you ever felt touched by someone's act of empathy? Or perhaps you've noticed that, in a seemingly simple encounter, you had the opportunity to offer this empathy to someone. How did this make you feel about your own spiritual journey? These moments, often insignificant at first glance, have the power to transform lives, both ours and those who cross our path. I also want to hear from you. Share in the comments a story where you practiced spiritual empathy in a casual encounter, or where you felt that someone was a channel of God for your life in an unexpected moment. The spiritual journey is full of moments of connection, and by sharing our experiences, we can learn from each other about how to recognize and cultivate spiritual empathy. Now, let's continue our journey and explore how we can strengthen our spiritual awareness to be more receptive to these encounters with divine purpose. The next step is understanding how the daily practice of this spiritual presence can open our hearts to more moments of transformation and growth. Cultivating a sharper spiritual awareness as we advance in our journey of understanding how each encounter can have a spiritual purpose, it's fundamental to reflect on an aspect that enables us to perceive and experience these connections: spiritual awareness. Spiritual awareness is the ability to be tuned in to the divine energies that surround us, and it allows us to see the world through God's eyes. When we cultivate this awareness, our life becomes more fulfilling, and we begin to recognize spiritual signs and messages in every interaction, no matter how simple it may be. Spirituality, in its essence, is a constant practice. It's not something that happens only in special moments, but something that must be cultivated and lived every day. When we allow ourselves to be more conscious of our connection with the divine, we begin to realize that God is not distant, but very close to us, in simple things and in the people who cross our path. Instead of being guided by chance or routine, we become guided by spiritual wisdom and divine guidance, which manifest in every moment of our life. The first step to cultivating a sharper spiritual awareness is the practice of mindfulness. Being attentive to the present moment is an invitation to tune in with the divine. When we are present, truly present, we can notice the small things that make all the difference. A stranger's smile, a friend's kind word, the simple fact of being alive on a sunny day. These moments are more than coincidences or chances. They are signs that God's presence is around us, inviting us to recognize His action in our lives. But how can we practice this in daily life? The secret lies in adopting the practice of inner silence. As we calm the mind and slow down the frantic rhythm of everyday life, we can make space for the divine to manifest. Silence doesn't mean absence of sound, but the internal quietness that allows us to hear God's voice in the midst of chaos. This practice of silence makes us more receptive to divine guidance and more capable of perceiving when and how God is communicating with us through daily encounters. Cultivating a sharper spiritual awareness also helps us understand that each person we meet, each glance we exchange, is an opportunity for connection. God manifests in everything and everyone, and we are called to perceive the holiness in the humanity around us. This doesn't mean we must be perfect or expect everyone to behave in an exemplary way. On the contrary, it's in acceptance and unconditional love that we find true spiritual connection. When we see each human being as an expression of God, we begin to treat others with more compassion, patience, and understanding, creating an environment conducive for these everyday encounters to become moments of great spiritual transformation. Now, I would like to invite you to reflect on your own spiritual journey. Do you feel sufficiently present in your daily encounters? Are you attentive to the small signs and messages that God is placing in your path? What can you do to cultivate greater spiritual awareness and thus more clearly perceive the divine opportunities that are at your disposal? Remember that God is always present, ready to reveal Himself in each moment, in each encounter. What we need is to be attentive and willing to see His hand in everything that happens. As you develop this perception, your spiritual journey will become increasingly rich and full of purpose. I would like to hear your thoughts. How do you perceive your own spiritual awareness? Have you had moments when you felt God was speaking to you in a casual encounter? Share your experiences in the comments, and together, we can continue this reflection on how to cultivate a deeper connection with the divine in our daily lives. The spiritual transformation through daily encounters. We've reached a crucial point in our journey. Understanding how daily encounters can be a source of spiritual transformation. As we cultivate greater spiritual awareness, practice empathy, and stay attentive to divine signs, we begin to realize that each interaction has the potential to transform us profoundly. Each encounter, no matter how simple it may seem, carries within itself an opportunity for change, learning, and spiritual growth. Spiritual transformation happens when we recognize God's presence in each of these moments. When we adopt a new perspective, where we see others not just as ordinary individuals, but as channels of divine energy, we are invited to change the way we relate to the world around us. Each encounter, each conversation, becomes an opportunity to practice spiritual wisdom, to exercise forgiveness, patience, and unconditional love. These spiritual values are the seeds that, when planted, begin to bear fruits of transformation in our life. God's presence is not limited to great spiritual experiences or moments of deep prayer. On the contrary, He is everywhere, including in small things, in seemingly insignificant gestures that we share with others. Each smile, each word of support, each act of kindness can be a reflection of divine love, and that's what transforms us. Spiritual transformation is, therefore, a constant journey of connection and openness to the divine. where each encounter becomes a turning point, a moment of learning and growth. When we begin to see these daily encounters with new eyes, our life fills with purpose. We can then realize that nothing is by chance. The people who cross our path, the challenges we face, the blessings we receive, everything is part of a greater divine plan. Each event and each person we meet has something to teach us, something to show us about ourselves and about our connection with God. When we embrace this vision, our life becomes richer and more full of meaning, because we are aware that we are being guided by a higher force in each step. Spiritual transformation is also in our capacity to respond with gratitude and faith to the encounters we have. Often, the situations that seem most challenging to us are, in fact, the greatest opportunities for spiritual growth. How we react to others, how we treat those we meet, is the reflection of what we carry within us. When we respond with compassion, love, and forgiveness, we are allowing God to work through us, transforming both our life and the lives of those around us. Now, I would like to invite you to reflect. How have you been responding to encounters in your life? Are you open to seeing each of these moments as an opportunity for spiritual transformation? When looking at the people around you, can you perceive the divine presence in their lives? Each small gesture, each interaction, can be a step toward a more fulfilling life, more connected with God. This is an invitation for you to begin seeing each encounter with new eyes, as an opportunity to grow and transform spiritually. In doing so, you will begin to realize that, in fact, your spiritual journey is built day after day through the simplest and most everyday interactions. I would like to know your opinion. How does spiritual transformation manifest for you in daily encounters? Which moments in your life brought profound changes through an unexpected interaction? Share your reflections in the comments, and let's continue together on this journey of discovery and growth. Applying spiritual wisdom in day-to-day encounters. Now that we've traveled the journey of discovering the spiritual purpose in our daily encounters, it's time to reflect on how to apply everything we've learned. True spiritual transformation doesn't occur only in intellectual understanding, but in daily practice. As we become more conscious of the divine presence in each interaction, we need to act according to this spiritual wisdom. Each encounter, each gesture, offers an opportunity to live and apply divine teachings in a practical way. Spiritual wisdom is often recognized in our ability to listen to divine guidance and act with empathy, love, and understanding. It reflects in our ability to respond to situations and others in a way that promotes healing and transformation, both in ourselves and in others. When we make the conscious decision to apply spiritual wisdom in our daily encounters, we begin to create a more positive and harmonious environment, where divine energy can flow freely, touching the lives of everyone around us. The key to applying this wisdom is constant practice. Each small act of kindness, each word of support, each moment of patience is a way to apply God's love in the world. Remember that spiritual wisdom isn't about being perfect or having all the answers, but about being open to divine guidance and acting with a pure heart. When we practice this, we become living channels of healing and transformation for others. This constant practice also requires a commitment to self-knowledge. As we apply spiritual wisdom, we need to be aware of our own reactions and feelings, because it's from our own inner transformation that we can truly impact the world around us. How do you react to daily challenges? How do you deal with people who cross your path? Are you willing to be a reflection of God's love and wisdom, even in moments of difficulty? As we reflect on these questions, we are reminded that the spiritual purpose of each encounter begins within us. We are called to be the chosen ones, those who bring light and love to the world, not through grand gestures, but in each small daily action. True spiritual transformation happens when we commit to being God's channels in each of these encounters, applying divine wisdom in all our interactions. I would like to invite you to think, how can you apply spiritual wisdom in your daily encounters? What small or simple actions can reflect God's love to those around you? By practicing this every day, you will begin to realize that you are, in fact, creating a space for healing and transformation, both for yourself and for others. At the end of this journey, remember that each encounter has a divine purpose. Each person who crosses your path is an opportunity to live more fully your connection with God and to be a channel of His wisdom and love. Don't underestimate the power of a simple encounter. It can be, in fact, the key to your spiritual transformation and to the transformation of those around you. To conclude, I want to invite you to reflect. How will you apply spiritual wisdom in your daily encounters from now on? What can you do to be more conscious and present, allowing divine energy to flow in each interaction? I would very much like to know your reflections and stories. Share in the comments how you apply or plan to apply spiritual wisdom in your life. Let's continue the journey together and inspire each other in our spiritual walk. Remember, each encounter, each person who crosses your path is a divine opportunity for transformation. As we practice spiritual wisdom, we become instruments of healing, love, and light. May you have the courage to apply these principles in every aspect of your life, and, in doing so, become a true manifestation of God's love for the world. If you are touched by this message and feel that you can apply this spiritual wisdom in your daily encounters, I invite you to take the next step. Subscribe to the channel to continue receiving content that will strengthen your spiritual journey. Share this video with friends and family who also seek a profound and meaningful transformation. May the light always be with you.